you're going to be doing kind of a concept map. You guys remember when we did, I think it was activity 44, where he gave you some keywords and you put them out on a piece of paper, you kind of mapped them out, and you drew arrows to show like relationships of what was going on between those words? Well, since then, we've learned so many more new ideas that I'd like you to do that with all these new ideas that we've come up with. So take a look up here on the board. I've got 15 ideas, and there might even be more. If you can come up with more too, you can add them to your list as well. But these are some of the main ideas that we've talked about throughout the unit with fungus. You're going to be doing this with your groups as well. So for example, if you take a look at one from my first period class. They took those words and they started drawing relationships to how they were related to one another. And they also, if you notice, they drew arrows. And they drew arrows, there are sometimes even multiple arrows from one idea. So you don't limit yourself to just one arrow to one word. You can draw them out to as many ideas as they're connected to. And you can also notice they describe kind of what was going on too here. They talked about how this idea was related to this one with just a couple of words. So you're going to be doing that in groups. And I'm going to have, let's see, and after maybe about 10 minutes or so, I'm going to have you rotate in this fashion here to the next group. And you're going to bring your colored pen, and you're going to make comments on the new group's poster. So if they maybe didn't think about an idea, for example, if you notice here, I've got red and green ink. So the first group started jotting their ideas down in green, and the next group that came in started drawing some more ideas on here that maybe that first group missed, or maybe they could think about, like, why didn't you draw an arrow from enzymes to this idea here? And then they kind of wrote that down as a comment. Does that make sense for you guys?
So they're going to produce spores, but what happens with the spores?
What would happen?
They turn into...
decompose, or I don't know.
They become part of one of the... I can't really explain it.
I mean, it sounds like you're kind of on the right track, dude.
Part of maybe like the organic materials or something, or
no, they become like an individual. If you wrote down
Yeah, you're right. It becomes an individual. So can we tie this back into this whole idea? Where can we maybe tie this back into here?
like
reproduction.
Like we already got that.
Oh.
Maybe like
yeah, you said
like reproduction.
So if these become individuals,
they'd start these processes too.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe we can draw an arrow to kind of show that it's, you know, a continuous cycle of this happening. That's great.
You want to draw it, Brenda? Oh, great.
To all of it?
Well, they start doing the processes over because after it's done, or do
you just put it enzymes or what?
So.
That's good.
We need to
you said switch towards enzymes, but I feel like where did that enzymes kind of going?
Yeah.
Connected back in there. Great. Yeah, so where's this one? When we did the experiment with heat, do you guys remember which of these ideas or processes it affected at all? Did it affect it?
Yeah, it affected, if it wasn't up hot enough, it affected, like, extracellular digestion. It slowed it down. And then it slowed down all these processes. So it affected this one.
Yeah, so you can draw an arrow from there. Do we see heat maybe affecting any other processes besides just digestion as well?
Maybe like respiration and reproduction.
Yeah, possibly. Great. There you go. We're just talking about where does this word fit into this, and Nina said maybe we've got decomposing and extracellular.
What I think is that maybe if something is already decomposed, that it would be easier for it to send out enzymes to break down the carbs.
Well, remember, decomposing is that whole process of it breaking down and whatnot too.
Well, connected to decomposing, we also have rotting too.
So where do we draw this arrow from for decomposing?
I think maybe to nutrients.
nutrients? Why?
Well, maybe decomposed things, maybe what's decomposing that it brings out the nutrients, maybe, so that it's easier for the fungi and enzymes to retrieve the nutrients that are in the carbs.
Remember we talked about how fungus is the reason why things decompose. If we didn't have fungus, if you looked at your refrigerator,
So they're connected by extracellular starts the decomposing process.
so it's that process of things breaking down.
So,
You know you can draw multiple arrows too. See how you drew two from enzymes? Yeah, it's the cellular respiration. Draw arrows in there too.
Can we put down starches? Or can we just put up
Well, you know I didn't put it up there.
are my
You
arrows
think
really
maybe
that bad?
You know why I put it up there?
We have to write something. So,
Well, are there any other ideas that are similar to starches?
I guess
Which one?
complex carbon.
okay, so,
And that's why
rotting
I just
goes
replaced
to-
that word because now we know that
decomposing
starches are
goes
formed.
to-
You can even put that in parentheses there too. We know that starches are formed.
Decomposing goes to, wait, no, let me draw the arrow. Doesn't this go to, think of the word, Evan.
Decomposing, I think, goes to extracellular.
Extracellular digestion? Okay, wait, let me draw the arrow.
Wait, no, wait, hold on, not yet.
I'll draw the line, you draw the Hey.
What was the one that led to decomposing?
Extracellular enzymes or extracellular digestion. I can't remember.
No, it's extracellular digestion.
Evan, I have a pen, and then Evan, I was like, what is this? And then Evan went back.
You did. And then you might want to write a little comment there so that's what they know.
So,
Oh, this one.
Let's see. What comment can we write?
you write very small.
Yes, I do. Let's write. No.
I don't like it. Why is there a big extracellular digestion? I don't like it.
It's not even what starts
I know.
process.
No extracellular.
Well,
I don't like this one.
extracellular digestion.
You're not supposed to do that. Only
I think I pretty much got it all, just in a very confusing way.
I guess.
Where's
Well, you didn't really explain it all. Doesn't look like.
Reproduction to enzymes started.
Oh yeah. Enzymes is over here.
Yeah, that's the wrong page. Or over there.
Breathe in O2, breathe in O2, out carbon dioxide.
I'm kind of sad if that's the only thing that we add to it.
We should add smiley face.
Matt draw that thing. It's Trevor.
Okay, I'll do it.
No, it's Trevor. I will color on you.
There.
It's all on their poster.
Josh, stop.
Heat. It says it needs heat for reproduction.
It just speeds up.
From our experiments, what did we find out about heat? Which
Speeds it
processes
up.
did it
It
affect?
doesn't.
Does it only affect reproduction here? Does it?
No.
Are there other parts to that heat is connected to maybe?
Enzymes.
Well, the release of enzymes. Attached to enzymes.
Racing goes to carbon dioxide, produces CO2, produces energy.
Kind of walked around. I saw this group here wrote a lot of comments on some of the other groups. What did you guys write down?
Lots of people kind of list that nutrients, that the nutrients also was the simple carbs and complex carbs, and so that would also produce energy and carbon dioxide.
Right, yeah, and you guys also noticed something else too. You guys remember? Kind of wrote it, yeah.
That we noticed that what was already on there that we forgot it on ours that I forgot which one it was, but it goes back to like enzymes goes back to reproduction and I think it was something like that.
Reproduction goes back to enzymes to start the whole process.
Oh, okay, so kind of where they said After reproducing, you get spores and it goes back to the enzymes being released, etc. But there's another thing you guys added too, is temperature. Do you guys remember that? Seeing that on some of the groups? What did you guys say about temperature?
Temperature made it release enzymes faster, and lots of people miss that.
Yeah, that temperature does affect enzymes, and temperature also affects that cellular respiration too that you guys figured out. Great. So when you're looking at this list of words, I want you to kind of remember some of the ideas that maybe you missed, because we're going to be doing something called a fungi unit assessment. So this is kind of taking the place of a typical test. Instead of me giving you a multiple choice test with questions about respiration or whatnot, I'm going to have you guys write me a revised version. This is going to be kind of like your final draft of your diary of a fungi. You guys remember those? I'm going to pass those rough drafts out in just a second. So instead of a test, I'm going to have you revise your story to include some more of these ideas, because when I had you do the story the first time around, we probably looked at maybe 7 or 8 of those ideas. But now that we've done all the experiments, we know that there are a lot more ideas that you can add into your story to make it as accurate as possible.